working? Good evening. This is a very important show. We are in episode number 19. And I very proudly present a very distinguished guest today, who is part of the legal fraternity, but in a very different manner. We had general counsels for the first time in this program, in this particular episode. Before that, we had senior advocates, law firm managing partners, vice chancellors. But today, we have got one of the first general counsel who is highly respected in the industry, who has done various remarkable work. And we found it appropriate to finally get somebody who looks after the entire corporate spectrum of a company. I present to you Dr. Sanjeev Gemawat. Good evening, sir.
Mr. Mishra, thank you very much for inviting me, having me here. Thanks a lot. Thank you for introducing me so nicely. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gemawat. This is a rare privilege. And I always told the Anurag Batra and everybody in business world in my team that one day we will get the general counsel, the first general counsel who will come. And I'll tell you, there are many general counsels who are close friend of yours and mine. They kept on asking when we will come. And today that great day has arrived when you are here. And we congratulate you for joining one of the biggest steel giants of the world and a pride of India in United Kingdom, Vedanta Group. And I also feel that this was a very appropriate time to bring you here. You know, there is a huge interest in youngsters today in joining the companies. And there is a huge shift between partners and senior legal professionals in legal fraternity in joining the companies as a general counsel or assistant general counsel. So the role has completely dramatically changed. Before I come to that role, which you'll describe in detail, tell us about your early childhood in Rajasthan, the cities you traveled, and how did 3 degrees, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, the law, the chartered accountancy, and the company secretaryship, all 3 you mastered?
Thanks, Mr. Mishra. Again, thank you for having me here. Well, yes, you rightly pointed out my early childhood was in Rajasthan because I originally belong to Rajasthan. So it was largely different villages and towns of Rajasthan because my father was in the government service and we used to have that, transferable posting. So I had, that flavor of rural Rajasthan as well as urban Rajasthan. It was a mixed kind of, various locations. Interestingly, I come from a family. I've come from a family of government officials, largely. So there was a paternal side. They were, all highly educated in the government of services. At the same time, from a maternal side, they were, in the business, and they were, conservative in terms of various culture, traditions, and all that. So I had, grown up in this mixed kind of, system, and that certainly helped me a lot in terms of adaptability. As you rightly pointed out, Rajasthan, because normally it is said that it's a backward state and all that. I studied in, villages and towns, in government schools and municipal schools. I experienced, sitting under the tree and studying. So I experienced all that. I have experienced that, those social culture, traditions as well. And it helped me a lot in terms of understanding the diversity of India, and also at the same time adaptability in terms of various locations wherever I went, and then subsequently in professional life as well. Yeah.
Wonderful, sir. And this is the best part, that you did your graduation in the year 1988, the year I did my +2. So yes. I can also feel that I always tell the youngsters like Simran and people who work around me that your generation has not seen certain kind of stuff. Like we were never ghosted by the mobile phones by our parents at that time. We had whatever discipline, self-discipline we had no entertainment. How was it, what kind of friendships you had during your school and your early college, and how many of those friends you still cherish being with?
Yeah, you're right. Those were different days. We were not having all these kind of gadgets today, what today's generation, is having. And those days were mainly on the ground. So mainly on the ground means that, the exercise, running, playing, and, all those traditional games. I don't know, some of the, new generation people might not be aware about those games also, Coco and Gilli Danda and all those kind of games also we have experienced and enjoyed that. So it was largely, and I believe that connect with people during that period, because of that, that bonding in terms of playing games, in the ground, and meeting people. In the evening 2 hours we used to spend in the ground. So I think
are you still in touch with? Are you
yes.
still in touch with few of your friends from that time?
Yes, yes. And some of them, believe me, some of them are also, high government officials and all that today in the civil services and all that, and they are also coming from the same background. So I'm still connected with most of those people. Yeah.
So
and also, I wanted to, of course, I wanted to respond to that also, that the multiple qualifications which you referred to. In Rajasthan, normally every family has a chartered accountant kind of, so it's these qualifications are, normal qualifications. Whenever one pursues these kind of qualifications, a chartered accountancy, so normally they pursue other qualifications as well. So I think it's in the process I completed all these.
But it's very rare, sir. I'm very happy to see it's very rare. I had met a lot of people, even in general counsel, even in legal profession, who had dual degrees or they practiced. But you are one person we all know is the great Mr. Harish Salve, who was a chartered accountant and an eminent lawyer. And once I had the opportunity to ask him this, but it must be helping you a lot. I would say that your journey looks very, I won't call it a struggling. Your journey was very sustained fight. So I'll put my first share about you, because you will keep on reinventing. In fact, one of my partners who is looking at this particular episode, she's with me for 8 years, has worked with you. Petal Chandok in DLF.
Yes.
She was part of a firm. She was in secondment. So she has talked about you to me.
Yes.
And I will say that my first share today, रोके जो मेरी राह वो मंजर नहीं आया, रोके जो मेरी राह वो मंजर नहीं आया, अभी तक मेरी राह में समंदर नहीं आया.
Great.
So this is what your initial journey, whatever I hear from there, I start saying these things. Tell me, when did you start working? And what was the first job like? What were your facilities? Because people see Dr. Ghemawat of today, the one of the greatest general counsel India has. People don't see the 25 years of hard work which has gone in it.
Yes. Interesting journey, Sudhir. And at times I feel that I have not planned all these, but then these all happen naturally, perhaps. One is that, just in the back of my mind, the thought which comes is that I'm coming from a feudalistic state and coming from a family of government officials. So there, in the whole thought process, the government service is the key. They don't consider the private sector as a sector which can give employment. And, those days were different also. But then fortunately, what happened is I qualified, during that period when India was changing. The liberalization was happening, and lots of multinationals were coming. So that period was different. And if you remember, 91, 92 were the boom period as far as the capital market is concerned. So I was very lucky because I was a chartered accountant and company secretary at that point of time. At the age of 21, 22, I was the finance controller and company secretary with the one company, a Rajasthan-based company, which was coming out with the public issue of shares. Now, just think about it. Think about it. Those kind of opportunities.
What was the age, Dr. Ghemawat, you said 20?
I was 21 years of age.
Just
21 years or 21 and a half years of age. And at that point of time, I got this opportunity as a finance controller and company secretary. Now, just think about it. If suppose that opportunity comes to me And believe me, at that point of time, also the compensation level was, pretty
Very,
well. Yeah, and if I compare with the government structure, it was, way higher than the government
and
was.
then you were so young. Then there was
Yeah,
you were
yes,
so young.
exactly.
And
Yes.
what was the next biggest step after that?
So then, I worked there, but then that was my experimentation stage because I was also busy in academics. I was doing my law, I was
Yes.
doing my doctorate and all those kind of qualifications I was doing. I was also, so then interestingly, I was a visiting faculty with most of those colleges. I used to teach the management so,
How did
and the
you, how
students
do
and all that.
people ask me that, Dr. Gimaut, you did a PhD in insider trading.
Yes,
Now, people do PhD in Buddhist literature, even if they are lawyers. I'm telling
yes,
you, or they will do it
yes,
comparative religion, or they will do
yes,
constitutional law or human rights, something very generic.
yes,
You did on
yes,
insider trading, which is like a very technical subject.
absolutely,
And then you are saying you
absolutely.
are teaching also. So it means that you are so fired up. You have so much of time because you invent time.
Yes.
How did insider trading happen?
So you remember 1992, SEBI came out with the insider trading regulations,
Right.
and that was a trigger point.
Which year was
The,
that? Which year?
1992.
Harshad Mehta or post Harshad Mehta?
It was the Harshad Mehta period only,
Repercussion of
and the
Harshad Mehta.
Harshad Mehta period only, and the stock market was at its peak.
Yes.
SEBI came out with the insider trading regulation, and believe me, at that point of time, everybody was involved in one or the other malpractice, but then they were not knowing that
Correct.
what this term is all about, insider trading. But then people were involved, and I think that was the right time in terms of my getting into research on this. And one fine day I was sitting in a library, and I just saw some of the articles on international law, and where the insider trading and the European regulations, etc., they were there, and I studied that. And then I thought that it's appropriate for me to just get into the research as far as this particular aspect is concerned. And then that was my dissertation subject for my post-graduation in law, and then thereafter in doctorate also. So this is how I did that. But then that period was also, the period of experimentation. As I practiced as a chartered accountant for some time, I practiced as a lawyer also for some time. And then, then I shifted to corporates because the things were different, and I was getting good offers. Undoubtedly, those were very promising. And
So what happens? So what happens? Restlessness defines Dr. Gemawat. Restlessness is something Ram Jethmalani once famously said, and I'll come to your work-life balance book and your principles about work-life balance, which you write and say, because एक बार मैंने राम जेठमलानी को पूछा था work life balance. He said work harder, life will find its good balance after that.
Yes.
So you have a different take. But before that, what was the restlessness which defined your constant change in your entire working style? You constantly kept on changing the narrative.
Yeah, one is that period was of change. Everything was undergoing change. Industry was changing. We used to read articles. Of course, internet and all that was not there. But then the information flow was so strong that there was, things were changing in the economy. The corporates were coming out with, best of the plans. And I think that was giving a thought to professionals like me or my generation's professionals in terms of experimenting it at multifaceted, jobs. If you remember, indirect tax, for example, was a major discipline during that period, but then there were not experts available. And I used to read articles on, some of the lawyers who gathered together and started the firm, and then they were, doing very well. They were all fascinating because that kind of, professional structure was not there earlier in the Indian economy. And so that is the reason why, it attracted me, and I
kept on changing it.
Then the journey.
So my second shade actually comes for you. Faraz has said, famous Pakistani shair, because you kept on, आपको कोई कैद नहीं कर पाता. मतलब you are always changing the narrative, changing the dimension, thinking ahead. ये मासूमियत का कौन सा अंदाज है फराज? ये मासूमियत का कौन सा अंदाज है फराज? पर काट के कहने लगे अब तुम आजाद हो.
वाह, क्या बात है.
तो आपको चेंज नहीं कर पाए. आपने इनफैक्ट जनरल काउंसिल्स को रिस्पेक्ट दिलाना शुरू किया है. lot of people we have talked to before you interview, you can see we have done a lot of research. They said that people like him were never happy with the way general counsel's role was understood. In the boardroom, in the courtroom, both the places they play a decisive role. But that's why this per काटने वाली बात मैंने बोली कि you came out, you did that break free moment of Michael Jackson. You created an organization also. I'll come to it. You are a co-founder of it.
Yes.
That all shows that look, when you change the entire perception, and I'll just take 1 minute. Lyricists and script writers were never getting their due in the film industry. They decided to create their own organization and started demanding as a group that this is our right, this is our role in the movie making. I see you and a couple of other friends of yours giving that finally in 2015 onwards, that credibility to the role of general counsel, which has attracted now the mainstream law firms to send their partners as GC. How did that whole perception change you were working for?
Yes. Well, we have all experienced the evolution of the GC's role, and I have, some, emotional aspects as far as the role of GC is concerned, and some of the practical aspects also. As you rightly pointed out, that yes, some of the people from the law firms are now joining GCs and all that. At times, I feel, Sudhir, that this is the natural progression of the profession. And because the profession gets determined by multiple factors. Those multiple factors are in terms of the various complexities as far as the industry is concerned or the regulatory framework is concerned. And I see the same kind of pattern which happened in the United States. That is what is happening today in India.
Right.
If you remember, early 20th century till 1980s, which we typically say, we call it a Kravitz system. And in the Kravitz system, the law firms used to hire the best of the, legal professionals from the law graduates from the top schools, etc. And they were providing the full legal service. Now, from that system, which was largely a law firm based system, there was a shift from law firm based to a client based system because the costs were getting higher. Now you have seen that change also in the United States, where clients have started engaging the general counsels, and general counsels were, dealing with most of the areas, and general counsel's office was also having the same kind of, talent from the law schools.
Yes.
Now just see the same kind of pattern is happening here now in India.
Yeah.
How? And the simple example is that most of the GC's offices of large corporates, they are nothing but mini law firms.
Actually, actual law firm, no longer mini law firm.
Yeah, with 30 to 60 lawyers or 30 to 80
minimum.
Lawyers. Yeah, they
in a team like yours, that's the normal number.
Exactly. And there you will find that yes, GC's role is becoming different. Now, coming to the kind of the emotional aspect part of it is that yes, is still the perspective about general counsel, in-house counsel, as far as the industry is concerned and how the external lawyers or the law firms perceive him, there is a difference. Lawyers or the external law firms, they don't perceive him as a lawyer.
As a value addition.
As a value addition or as a lawyer. They think that the GC is the administrator of the legal department of a corporate. While GC has multiple dimensions and multiple facets. He's an advisor to the business. He's a strategizer for the business. He is also the board advisor. He has a completely different role. And ultimately, he needs to deliver. So what he is requesting the external lawyers or law firms that we need these deliveries, he is responsible for that. So I think that is the important part of GC's role. And I think that recognition is important. GC, please consider GC as a lawyer. And that is what I'm arguing right now, from a legal framework standpoint and from other standpoint also.
Yes, sir, but this is a very important, a very sensitive topic, actually. So basically, what happens as a law firm, which I also feel that one of the best companies walk in, when the GC comes or his team comes, people like us who know most of them as on a name basis, it is still better that and sometimes the feedback which they come with. I just remember day before yesterday, we are doing something in NGT Chennai. The GC walked in today. He had a note already prepared for the entire thing. My team was saying it's actually done. We can't do anything more and can't even charge for it. That is what we are regularly witnessing. And I saw it in Adani's. We work for them, and I was in their headquarters and I met few of the lawyers in the shipping team.
Yes.
And I was so surprised in the port and shipping team. They all were principal associates from the A-lister law firms.
Yes.
And they're working under a GC who was very traditional.
Yes.
You know who is he? And he was very traditional. And that person was getting absolutely the same respect and recognition which we normally get as managing partners or whatever. I think that channel has to be something we need to work out, because we get better inputs now from law departments, and companies are getting bigger and bigger, and their departments are getting bigger, and law firms cannot simply think that it's the main job of the GC is to agree to the general counsel's name and agree to the fee structure. So unfortunately, we sometimes limit it to this. Sir, in your entire work tenure, what was your most challenging assignment in last 10 years?
Well, multiple. Multiple, very
I'm sure the kind of companies you have represented, there would be
multiple, and I think that is what the GC's role is. GC's role is to meet the expectations of the organizations. So businesses are not run based on only on the one-sided view. There would always be a views and counter views as far as running of business is concerned, and GCs will have to deliver. So I have experienced, Mr. Mishra, I have experienced multiple kinds of litigation and multiple kinds of transactions. And all were challenging, whether that be a regulatory disputes to shareholders disputes. So I can be, very specific in terms of those examples. But yes, I can only say that yes, GC's relevance and role is to deliver and to understand the business, and then his business orientation should be at the highest level, because otherwise he would not be in a position to perform. Of course, all within the parameters and the framework of law. He cannot go beyond the framework of law. But the only point is, external lawyers can take a stand that no, this can be done, this cannot be done. But then GC has to find a solution. GC might look to you that he is a silent spectator, but in his mind, he would be doing multiple calculations how to get this done. And that is what the relevance of GC is. So he might be at times, appear to a law firm that, but then there is something else also.
That's very important. I have to ask you two other misconceptions, because I'm sure a lot of youngsters who are watching this, who directly want to go from big law schools to the companies which you described, that it's a new thing which is happening in India. People don't understand that if you go to a top law firm from managers Calcutta, you will get either IPR, corporate, litigation, arbitration. But when you go in a GC's office, you are doing the term sheet, shareholders agreement, and also briefing the senior advocate or taking part in the brief note which the litigation team is expecting you to. It's a multitasking. So this conception kindly clarify for us. A lot of youngsters have this doubt ki aaram se rahenge wahan par, Monday to Friday. Is it true?
It's not. Unfortunately or fortunately, it's not true. But then let me tell you, the kind of experience and exposure which young professional gets in corporates, I think it's absolutely amazing. For example, let me give, my current organization also. In my current organization, there's a large pool of professionals who are coming from the top law schools. And at a very young age and very young, they are hardly 1 year, 2 year, 3 years kind of experience. But then the kind of responsibilities which they perform, it's absolutely amazing. And it's all with all autonomy and independence. So you are very right that at a given point of time, a person is handling multiple things. He is dealing with the businesses, he is negotiating a contract, he is handling the litigation. So I think those are the challenges, and those kind of opportunities, perhaps normally other professionals who are joining law firm, they don't get, because they would be tied up with one or the other discipline. While this is not the case as far as corporates are concerned. You're very right here.
And sir, before I'll come to another share, you will clarify that a lot of senior advocates and a lot of managing partners like me have this terrible misconception about the talent pool in a corporate legal department.
Yes.
And I know many of my friends who have been saying this, and I keep on telling them that maybe you're not working with the right kind of bigger company, where they come so prepared because they're answering to the Lala, or they're answering to the global management. Either of the two things happen. If you're working in a multinational, you are reporting to Hong Kong or the US directly. You are working to an Indian thing, then you are working to the man who owns the business. He directly talks to the legal head. And most of these companies, people blame. So when it comes to us, even law firms, lawyers, we sometimes blame, oh no, they have not given us the document, they are not taking interest. How much is this conception can be cleared? What is the best way to negotiate the challenging situation?
Well, exceptions apart, I don't say that all GCs or all in-house counsels would be the best.
I agree.
Exceptions apart, but largely you will notice that GCs are responsible to the business, and GCs are responsible to the business, so they prepare themselves fully well in terms of communicating with the law firms or lawyers. Please understand that at times what they are communicating is the perspective of the business. And you will find invariably the lawyers and law firms would be saying that you are a lawyer. How can you give these kind of suggestions? Are you foolish? Those kind of comments might come. But then just see that in those comments, what GC is thinking. GC is still trying to find a solution in that thought. He's still trying, because he has a duty to communicate to the law firm that this is what my business wants, this is what I want, and now we will have to find. And then you will invariably find, Sudhir, that most of the good decisions and good orders, you will find there is one or the other push from the GC or the business that please experiment this, we are taking this.
I totally agree with you. That's why I'm saying sometimes GCs today, the kind of GCs you are, sometimes you actually bypass and you talk to a senior advocate and you tell them that go and tell this this law firm that, look, this is the way in a conference. Then it comes from the senior advocate actually. That, no, why you can't do like this? This is the way it should be done, because you have that access and you talk to them. And and that idea is very important, because your idea, you understand the entire thing, because you are taking the burn. You are taking the burn of whatever consequences. So I'll come to Galib now. Galib has said, and it is true for all of us actually.
Yes.
उम्र भर गालिब यही भूल करते रहे. उम्र भर गालिब यही भूल करते रहे. धूल चेहरे पे थी और आईना साफ करते रहे. So we always blame the other guy. So it's better that we start looking at our own house. So coming to your present assignment, this is an assignment which will again see you travel a lot, because you will be going across the continents. So how do you travel? How do you do your work-life balance? What is your mantra for a successful life, peaceful life?
Of course, traveling is an essential part of, any business, and then work-life balance, particularly in a profession like ours, where Saturdays, Sundays are always working, because you will have to prepare for Monday. So in a situation like this would always be a challenge. But then this is where we will have to find a solution to this. And I think the solution lies somewhere in terms of our time management. I don't say that we are perfect people in terms of managing our time, but then still, I think still in that process, we can organize something. Only thing which I think at times, at times it's a mindset issue. We don't do justice to ourselves. So it's a mindset issue, and I think that there we need to correct ourselves in terms of giving time to family members, going on some kind of walk, or whatever. So that whatever
that
hobbies
you've written also, right?
that we can always pursue that. But then yes, having said so, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. I would not say that it's not a challenge, but then we can always maintain that. We can always try to do that. Yeah.
So, sir, we are almost at the end of the last segment. What are your mantras? What is your message to the youngsters, that how do they prepare for their times are different? How do they prepare for success in life? Because they are very success driven and very priority driven. They have multiple priority. They have a phone in hand, which already disables them in many ways. What are your suggestions for a very nice life which they should have?
I would, from an overall standpoint, as a professional, if I want to comment, and then I would comment that yes, as a professional, young professionals, please entertain all those wild ideas which come to your mind. So don't ignore that, because in those wild ideas, somewhere there's a solution. So this is one mantra which I would give, and particularly in a profession like ours, which is basically a profession of views and counter views. And in a views and counter views, there can be multiple views, and all views might be correct. and those views need to be applied in terms of fitment of your situation. So I think this is one thought which I would certainly like to give. The second thing which I would like to, as a message which I can do is that if you can even change a thought in a person, a positive thought, I think you have achieved your, purpose. And this is what your approach should be on a daily basis, learning something and also de-learning something and communicating that to others. I think in the process, we can, develop a good, skill set of people and professionals. So this is how I take this profession.
And what do you think about mentoring, sir? What kind of mentoring you do? How many people move with you? Are people whom you take care all the time that these people should really get mentored properly? Like all of us have this huge duty of mentoring. What is your way of mentoring?
Absolutely. Traditionally, what I used to do is I used to give, sufficient time to all trainees. I used to sit with them. I used to, entertain them in terms of, giving views and counter views and all that. So this is what my approach has been. Of course, last few years, my interaction with the trainees have been, reduced to a large extent. But then I try to do that.
Wow.
Yes.
Wonderful, sir. We are at the end of the show. We had a half-an-hour show. I will ask Mirza Ghalib's poetry for you, because all of that will come on various platforms. You'll see Business World doing one small portions, bringing it out.
Yes.
That's about the kind of life I live, that people should be with you. You should not leave people. If they want to go, let them go. You said so many things in the same way. उड़ने दो इन परिंदों को आजाद फिजा में गालिब. उड़ने दो इन परिंदों को आजाद फिजा में गालिब. जो तेरे अपने होंगे वो लौट आएंगे किसी रोज.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So with this, I thank you for coming on this show. I thank you and I say all the best for your great role ahead and look forward to meeting you soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. And thanks a lot to you and entire team. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.